Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're all keeping safe and well. So it is transfer deadline day, 13 hours to go. I'm absolutely delighted to bring on Russ Williams, broadcaster, of course, former host of Soccer AM, current presenter at talkSport, also former presenter at Capital Radio and Virgin Radio. Russ, you've had a fantastic broadcasting career. Cannot thank you enough for your time today coming on this channel. How are you?
I'm very well, Chris. Thank you for inviting me. Hello to all of your viewers on your excellent channel. And happy deadline day, or is it?
How do you feel on deadline day?
The usual feeling is meandering down the same road with the same result. But there are, I think, a few glimmers of hope today, maybe. Which I'm sure we'll come on to a little bit later on. I mean, there's no doubt, as you know, and all of your viewers know, our Spurs fans, you know, we're quite fickle. That's part of the DNA. But the squad over the last 2 or 3 seasons has not been good enough. And in my view, which is why I'm here to give, I suppose, from the owners and the people involved in the football side of the club, it's been nothing short of a dereliction of duty to us, the fans, and the great name of Spurs. Because if we look at the squad, okay, we're doing okay in the league, but they're not good enough. And we all know that. And that is hopefully why Fabio Paratici and, more importantly, Antonio Conte have come in and privately sat down with the chairman and hopefully Joe Lewis as well, and the powers that be at the club, and said, look, we knew it wasn't great, but actually it's really not great, and we've got to do something about it. And I think Conte gave a very clear indication in his last post-match interview after yet another defeat at Chelsea, exactly what his feelings were. But, you know, like everybody else, I've been disappointed with the lack of progress. And I agree with Antonio. It's been regression, not progress.
Russ, what have you made of Tottenham's season so far? Because, of course, it started so well. 3 wins out of 3 under Nuno Espirito Santo. He was then sacked 3 months later, booing in the stadium. Antonio Conte has come in. What have you made of Antonio Conte's time so far?
Well, I don't think you can argue with it. You know, up until the Chelsea game in the Premier League, 9 games undefeated. Now, we haven't been spectacular. There hasn't been enough sort of King Power moments and Amsterdam moments, really. Not that it's good for the heart. But I think when he came in, we were, you know, at a new low. Nuno Espirito Santo, when he first turned up at Wolves, was great. The search for a manager last summer was nothing short, in my opinion, of embarrassing. It was like manager lotto, who's going to get the Tottenham ticket. You know, anyone can have the job. And Nuno just wasn't right for the football club, and the football club wasn't right for him. And I'm sorry the way it ended for him, but it was inevitable.
Yeah. Surely, though, you'll be impressed with the way that Antonio Conte has turned a number of players, because as we're talking on transfer deadline day, I expect a number of Spurs fans would have probably had on the list players like Eric Dyer, Harry Winks, Ben Davies to be on the list of possibly going out the door. He's certainly improved those players over the last few months.
Yeah, well, Harry Winks, I don't think's improved for my football viewing mind much, really. It's sideways and it's backwards. Maybe he's told to do that. Oliver Skipp, I think, is the player who Conte has really improved. Ben Davies, are we really from Ben going to get any more than we've had? Probably not. Eric Dyer, I accept. You know, Conte believes he can be a top central defender, and maybe he can be. I mean, I've always liked him as a player, but, you know, Chris, when we watch us defend, it is hands across the face behind the sofa, isn't it, a lot of the time? So something has got to be done.
I'm just trying to see some positives, Russ. I'll tell you, I'm clutching at the positives here.
We're playing football. We're in the 4th round of the FA Cup. We're challenging, in inverted commas, for the top 4. Disappointment in Europe, yes. But we have got a Rolls Royce of a manager there.
Yeah.
I'm very excited on a non-Tottenham level, looking at what Steven Gerrard is doing at Aston Villa and that football club. I mean, you can see what they're trying to do. And it's a bit like we thought we were going to be 3 or 4 years ago under Poch. And then we had that dreadful transfer window, 2019, wasn't it, in the summer? And Frank Lampard is going into Everton, and I wish him the very best of luck. I think we all do as football fans, or most of us anyway. But Antonio Conte is at least twice as good, if not 3 times as good, as both of them put together as a manager. And we've got him. We've got him at the club, and we mustn't let him slip through our fingers. And so I'm hoping that today is going to be a little step, this transfer window, in ins and outs, that's going to allow him to have a big summer. I hope. But hey, who knows?
Russ, what have you made overall of the last couple of years at Spurs? Because, of course, fan favourite Mauricio Pochettino, he didn't spend a penny in any transfers on, 518 days it was, without any signings. Then, of course, he was sacked. Took us to the Champions League final. We lost it, unfortunately. Then he was sacked. Jose Mourinho then came in. He got us to a League Cup final, was sacked 6 days before the final. Of course, as you mentioned, trying to find a manager for 70 odd days. Nuno Espirito Santo come in. Antonio Conte's here now. Surely, as you've just said, a Rolls Royce of a manager, Antonio Conte, surely he is going to take this club forward, and surely he's going to put, a trophy in the cabinet. Trophy is my most favourite word on this channel, and I'm quite, heavily criticised on this channel for talking about trophies, because of course we don't see them very often.
No, and that's part of the problem, isn't it? Trophies, or the pursuit of them with a realistic expectation, a bit like West Ham, if you like, at the moment. Of course, they'd love top 4, but they're in the last 16 of the Europa League. That's going to be their priority, isn't it? I would have thought. And that's where we have to get to. And that's why I'm expecting on Sunday, for example, at 8 o'clock in the evening, or Saturday, whenever it is, when we play Brighton, a big performance from Spurs, because they're tricky customers. But if we can make a statement against them, we could be in for a really good cup run in a competition that we used to love winning. And the problem is, I think that the club owners treat it as a business, as we all know. Well, it isn't just a business, because the business of the club, the clue is in the name, Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. And to win trophies, they have to invest correctly. I mean, some of the business we've done over recent years has been awful. Bargain basement stuff. Just hasn't worked out, and this goes back a long way to when we sold Gareth Bale, and we brought in 6, 7 players, and the only one who really came good was Christian Eriksen. You can argue that Eric Lamela made significant contributions when he was allowed to play and wasn't injured or wasn't red carded. So I think we've all got to hope that Fabio Paratici is going to be a very wise head for the owners to listen to, and make them realise that the opportunity is huge. We've got a brilliant stadium, fantastic training ground, but the business is on that bit of green grass, isn't it? And, I think it's a transactional relationship between us, the fans, and them as the club. We pay the money. They provide a team for us to support that makes us think we're getting value for money. Doesn't matter whether you lose a few games, go down in glorious failure. It's exciting football, which is what we want at our club. And at the moment, the transaction is one way, and it's in favour of the owners. And it's got to change.
How confident are you, Russ, that Antonio Conte will be backed? And if you can, try and give me the definition of backing Antonio Conte now as Spurs boss, because when you think back a few years ago, Mauricio Pochettino saying, we need furniture to put in this mansion. As you said, excellent training ground, fantastic stadium, world-class stadium. We've got some great players, but we always seem to be that little bit short. Do you think Antonio Conte will be backed, and what's the definition of that?
Well, he has to be backed, because if he isn't, and by the way, he's not the world's greatest player signer. If you look back the history of his career, Inter, Juventus, and what have you, 1 or 2 other places, he's not always signed great players, but he's always got a team to play. And I think it's all about the system that he wants to play, that he thinks has the best chance of success. And that is undoubtedly with him a 3-5-2. So when we're looking today at the transfer window, we're looking at a midfield strengthening with a couple of players maybe coming in from Juventus. I think he wants probably a right-sided centre-back. He wants a wing back, doesn't he? I mean, but the big question is, who's going to go out? And all this is part of the equation, get money off the wage bill to be able to financially do the things for the manager that he wants. And let's be absolutely fair to Daniel Levy and Joe Lewis and Enoch. The debt that the club is saddled with for the stadium is quite huge. I mean, we can easily forget, can't we, that Spurs had to go to the government and get an enormous loan during the first COVID lockdown period when money was being dished out left, right and centre. Tottenham had to go there. So, I've heard fans say, well, we've had some NFL games, we've had a few concerts, we've had games back at the stadium. Financially, I think that's probably a drop in the ocean compared to where we are. But when do you become a gambler for success, or when do you just say, no, I'm going to stick? And I think it's in Daniel Levy's DNA to stick. Can Conte and Paratici teach him how to twist? That for me, that's the crux of the matter. And if they can, we'll have a big summer and could start next season in very good shape. But the key is, of course, you've got to sign him up for longer. Will that happen in the summer? I don't know. But we've got to start today, and it looks as though we're going to get some in and some out. So a little bit of movement, matron, is a good thing.
Russ, are you a fan of a director of football?
No, not really. I think managers and their coaching staff know the sort of players that they want, and there are some good directors of football, but it's another layer, isn't it, of complication, of a different opinion, but sometimes can be good. But it can complicate things sometimes. But we are where we are with the very experienced Fabio Paratici, and he knows Conte very well from Juventus and Italian football in general. And so I think you've just got to trust the process and credit, to the club for pursuing Paratici. And there's no doubt his friendship with Conte was part of the reason that eventually, after flirting with us last summer and fluttering his eyelids, that eventually he succumbed and has come to North London. I think he loves it at Spurs, but I think Conte knows there's an awful lot of work to do. And what was really telling, Chris, I don't know whether you would agree with this, also in that interview after the Chelsea game, he said, 1, 2, 3 transfer windows is not going to solve this, because the gap between us and City and Chelsea and Liverpool is so big.
I completely agree. And I tell you what, if you look at Twitter, Russ, a number of Spurs fans want it all to happen in 1 or 2 windows. It's just not going to happen. I just think this is such a huge. It's a huge job, isn't it? Do you think it's a bigger job than Antonio Conte first thought?
Yeah, without a doubt. I think from his body language, what he said. And what he doesn't say, although he does make me laugh in interviews where he said, I can't say too much about this. And then he does exactly that, particularly that interview, the telling interview after the Chelsea game. I think that he's shocked at the regression over the last 2 or 3 seasons of the squad. And I'm sure he's been in there and put his cards on the table and said, Mr. Chairman, this is the reality of where we are. Do you want to win things? If you do, this is what you've got to do.
Russ, are you expecting Tottenham to do any business today?
Yes. I think we'll have the 2 players, Bentancur and Kulesevic, the Swedish international, who, with my wife being Swedish, I'm quite familiar with their national team. She's also a gooner, so I've locked her away in a room in a very lovable kind of way. And, Yves Bissouma, I don't think he'll come because Brighton won £50 million for him. There was an interesting thing this morning I read. I don't know if you've seen it, about Douglas Luiz from Aston Villa. I think he would be a good addition for us. But it's the key, is it not really, is who do we manage to say goodbye to on loan or sell today? I mean, the list is enormous, isn't it? And Ndombele, Dele Alli, Joe Rodon, Lo Celso, Brian Hill, that's a bit of a weird one, isn't it? He's only just come to the club 6 months ago and could be back on loan in Spain at Valencia. Get your head around that.
Let's talk about the players possibly going out the door today. Fabrizio Romano, Italian journalist and transfer expert, has said that the deal has been done to Valencia on loan. And as you just said, we paid £21.6 million for him only in the summer, plus Eric Lamela going out the door. 20 appearances for Spurs so far. That sounds a lot, but most of them have been sub appearances. Russ, what do you make of that situation? Because surely, if you're going to loan a player out, surely it should have been in England.
Yeah, because you want Brian Hill to get experience of, Premier League football. I'm sure somebody would have looked at him, or maybe they didn't. I mean, look, he's creative, he's tricky, but you can't expect him to change the world when he's coming on for 10 or 15 minutes at a time. One thing he can do, which we're terrible at, is cross the ball. I cannot believe a club like Spurs can't cross the ball and can't take corners and get the ball into the right area like other clubs do. I mean, it must drive Conte mad. And he's one of the people that can do that. I mean, there is no logic, really. And the reason there's no logic is, if there is a logic, the club won't explain it. Because as you know, Tottenham's social media feed is a bit like a marshmallow world on there for them. They never address the issues. And the fans have made their voices heard. And I think that is a really good thing, because, you do get to a point where you just go, can I watch this anymore? And hopefully with Conte, we're all a little bit invigorated and things will get better. I mean, I personally know 2 or 3 people who are friends of mine who've got very expensive season tickets at Spurs. And they both said to me just before Conte arrived, I've tried to cancel my season ticket, but the club wouldn't let them. So, and if they're trying to do it, every fan would be thinking about it, apart from the diehards. And I respect the diehards, but we don't want to watch the same Tottenham of the last 3 or 4 years, and arguably before Poch, year after year after year. What is the point?
Yeah, unfortunately, or fortunately for me, I am one of those diehards, Russ, and I do travel home and away to see. Yeah.
So am I. I'll always watch them, but you don't want the same pizza every night for your dinner, do you?
It's frustrating. Yeah, it's frustrating because, of course, the Europa Conference League. I know we could talk all day about Spurs, but the Europa Conference League, I went to all of those away games, didn't see a win. And when you think that, there are a number of players given opportunities under Nuno and Conte, certainly that Mura game, and they didn't take the opportunities. Another player, it looks like Tanguy Ndombele will be going out on loan. Of course, our record signing. Talks broke down with PSG. Now looks like he's going to Lyon. Russ, what on earth do you make of this situation? Because, of course, record signing, everyone was super excited when he came in. Sure. It was meant to be, a fantastic statement signing. What has gone wrong for him?
I think fitness was an issue when he first turned up at the club, and might still be. To play in the Premier League, it's all about mindset. You've got to be a quick player. I think in a slower league, he would excel a little bit more. I think that there was mental blocks with him. He had injuries. I mean, I'm gutted, really, because like you and probably a lot of other people watching, there's magic in those boots, but we just don't see it enough. And maybe a loan period is good for him. And I suspect if it's a loan period and he does well, he won't be coming back. He may do, but I doubt it very much. It's a shame, because Ndombele, we spent so much money on him. And, perhaps we question recruitment again. Buying players off videos is a very dangerous thing, isn't it? We can all edit videos and make ourselves look like the greatest person in the world or whatever we do. But it's a different kettle of fish when you're out there on the pitch. And I think he wasn't helped as well that Mourinho wasn't quite convinced about him. I don't think he was a Mourinho type player. And that probably banged his confidence a little bit as well.
It's weird you should say that, because when I think back, I think Jose Mourinho probably got the best out of him than what Pochettino did during his short time there, and Conte so far.
Yeah, I mean, look, he had his moments. What was that game where he scored that unbelievable game on a Super Sunday? I forget. We were away.
Sheffield United away.
That's it. I mean, wow. And he meant to do that.
Yeah.
But I think I'm pleased he's gone on loan, because I don't think, and it hurts me to say this because of his talent, I don't think that the team is going to miss him, or the ambition of the team is going to miss him so much, really.
Do you see him ever coming back and playing for Spurs again?
No, I think if he makes a success in France, Lyon will have him, or maybe his coveted move to PSG, but he's going to have to play out of his boots, isn't he? But it's a different league. I mean, he could excel again, couldn't he? You know, who knows?
Right, Jack Clark was the first signing in 518 days, as I mentioned earlier. He's just gone out on loan again to Sunderland. He was meant to be a very bright prospect. Yeah. Haven't really seen anything of him.
No. I mean, what was he, about 10 million, wasn't he, or something?
Yeah.
Something like that. I mean, that's another Spurs conundrum, isn't it? For which we don't have the answer.
What did you make of the Dylan Markanday sale to Blackburn? Because I watched Tottenham Hotspur under 23s a lot in pre-season. Him and J. Neil Bennett were absolutely exceptional. He's played extremely well in Premier League too. A real prospect for the future. Made his debut from the sub bench against the Tess Arnhem in the away game.
Yeah.
Were you surprised by that sale?
Yeah, I mean, it's Spurs. Nothing ever surprises us, does it? The only thing I would say is that Paratici and the other people in the management there of the footballing side of the football club would have obviously been very aware of him and would have made a decision. You know, and decisions sometimes can be good, sometimes can be bad. But Paratici himself has gone root and branch through every side of the football aspects of the club. And I think, you know, from what I'm hearing, has had to make some difficult decisions to streamline things. And there is going to be more investment in youth players, because as we know in the Premier League, there's an awful lot of clubs that seem to produce an awful lot of good youth players. And we are lacking, I'm afraid, something that Mourinho and I don't think Nuno was that interested in. Poch was at the beginning, and then the issues started and the eye was taken off the ball a bit. So I think we've got to trust in Paratici and what he's planning to do with the youth setup at our football club, from, you know, the youngest of boys through to the level that you were talking about there. But you never like to see a good prospect go, and they can sometimes come back and haunt you, can't they? Yeah.
Sorry to go off topic, Russ, but I've got to ask why you mentioned Pochettino there. Going back to November 19, was it the right decision to sack Poch for you?
There was clearly a problem, wasn't there? I mean, I have no idea what it was. A dressing room problem, quite possibly, with certain members of the squad. You know, he also probably, through lack of transfer activity, a pivotal moment in the development of the team, you know, when he famously said, didn't he, you know, this squad has probably gone about as far as it can. That was him saying, right, few out and let's get some fresh faces in and push on again. The only thing that goes against Poch is that he still hasn't won anything really, apart from that cup in France, you know, when he went to PSG. But I think Man United would be all over him if Rangnick doesn't work out, although he seems to be doing quite well at the moment. He'll always have a job. I personally would have kept him, but I don't run the football club. Daniel Levy does.
What did you make of the sacking as well, Jose, 6 days before the final?
Couldn't understand it. Why would you do that? There can only have been a major disagreement. You know, trust had been broken, you know, between Mr. Levy and Jose Mourinho, and it might have been a fit of pique. It might have been, well, I can't work for you anymore. You know, I want to go. Let's do a deal, and we can announce it in a certain way. I've no idea. I'm just speculating, but it did seem to me most extraordinary. Would we have won the trophy with Mourinho in charge? No offense to Ryan Mason. Yeah, probably. Or we might have got to extra time.
Do you know what? When I agree with you, and whenever I've given that opinion on this channel, a lot of people disagree, saying that we wouldn't have had a chance against Manchester City that day. But I think that we would have had a more percentage chance with Jose in charge that day?
Yes, I would agree. Can't disagree with that at all.
Russ, do you think that Antonio Conte is going to be successful at Spurs? And do you think that he is going to be given the tools that he needs to be successful? Because, of course, in the summer, he will only have 12 months left on his contract.
Yeah. If he's given the tools and continues, and I understand, like a lot of people do, that he is very much enjoying working at the club and being in London again. It suits him. You know, we have this fabulous stadium, brilliant training facilities. It's now up to him to get it right on the pitch. If he's given the tools and is shown a bit of love and not allowed to go sulky, then I think he will stay for longer at the football club. But if he's not given the tools, he's the sort of bloke I think he would just say, I mean, at Inter Milan, of course, he fell out with them because they were selling their best players. He wants to get better players in. It's an interesting juxtaposition for him. But I've got my fingers crossed because I think he is a tremendous manager and gives us such a chance of doing well consistently over the next 2 or 3 years. Yeah.
Russ, what actually got you into Spurs? Was it family or was it your own choice?
Family. All my family are from Walthamstow area, northeast London, and first match I ever went to was at White Hart Lane. We were playing Man City. Alan Gilzean headed the winner. That would have been around about 1970, maybe 69. I remember walking up the Tottenham High Road with my dad, and there were so many people there. It was packed, you know, it was like a kid in a candy store. And so that was it. But, you know, I didn't get to choose my club. You kind of get given it, as so many of our viewers will know. And shortly after that, funny enough, because we went to live in Blackpool when my father's work took him. And basically, well, I used to go and watch Blackpool, who were in the equivalent of the Premier League then, the old First Division. And we went to a game one day, and this was my very first live professional football match that I went to. It was Blackpool against Chelsea, Osgood, you know, Ron Harris, David Webb, all of these great players, Bonetti in goal. And half-time, Chelsea, never a favourite club of mine, were winning 3-0. And my dad said to me, don't worry, he said, Blackpool come out and score 4 goals in the second half. And they did. That was my introduction of football. And the second game was at the Lane, of course, because we used to travel down and stay with my grandmother, and he took me, and that was it. The love affair began. And the hate affair occasionally, because they do frustrate me.
I'll tell you what, I absolutely hate that place, Stamford Bridge of you know, Spurs. 1 win in 32 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, hate it. Russ, what would you say, we'll get back to transfers in a second, but what would you say your favourite memories are of supporting Tottenham?
Well, funnily enough, Glenn Hoddle's equaliser against Man City in the first FA Cup final in 1981, because we were so close to losing that game, and it came off Tommy Hutchinson's shoulder. Not the most brilliant goal from God, but it got us into that fantastic replay, which I was lucky enough to be at. And the Villa goal was a magnificent memory for me. And also Steve McKenzie's goal for Man City that night in the replay was unbelievable. But it was just a brilliant game and a brilliant atmosphere. Gaza, so many memories of Gaza. I mean, one of the few players who, whenever he got the ball, everyone stood up in their seat. Aaron Lennon had that a little bit, funny enough, when he first joined the club. People would go, oh, Aaron Lennon's got the ball. What's going to happen next? And of course, he was no Gaza, but he had that little something that excited people. And we're missing that in our team at the moment. I mean, there's so many memories that I've got playing Man City away, Main Road, and beating them after Mike Sheeran had put them 1-0 up and the Kipax was going bananas after 5 minutes. Terry Venables was the manager then. That was the game where the police horses came on to the pitch halfway through, and Sheringham scored a penalty, if you remember. That was a great away day. Terrible away day. Everton at Elland Road, when we lost in the semi-final. We had Klinsmann, Darren Anderton, Teddy Sheringham. Everyone was there, and we just thought, didn't we? Just got to turn up. And we were completely pants. So
Daniel McCarthy ruined it.
I beg your pardon? Daniel
McCarthy.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, but Everton have that ability, don't they? Or they did then, to turn it on, and maybe they will again under Lampard. I don't know, but there's so many memories, but an awful lot of disappointments. Clearly, Amsterdam was a great memory. A big disappointment for me was the Champions League final. I don't think we turned up in it at all. I don't know what happened. I know that obviously an early goal, controversial penalty at the beginning of the game, but we just never looked like the team that had played in Amsterdam and other games that we'd all watched as fans. It's a real roller coaster, isn't it? Being a Spurs fan, unfortunately. And let's hope we're going up and not coming down with Conte.
I was having this conversation the other day, Russ, about signings, about when was the last time I got really, really excited about a signing. And for me, it was back in '94 when we signed Jurgen Klinsmann.
Oh, absolutely.
Because we signed a world-class player that day. Of course, people could say Rafa van der Vaart, and of course, we've had some great players, David Ginola, Gareth Bale, or whatever. But that signing of Jurgen Klinsmann at the time was just incredible. What was the last time you really got excited about signing?
Well, I would agree with you about Jurgen Klinsmann. That was very difficult to surpass. Gaza, because I'd worked in Newcastle for 3 years, and Gaza was playing at Newcastle, and I'd met him a couple of times when he came into the radio station office, and jolly japester. But I'd watched him play football, and he was incredible. And I knew that if he left Newcastle, if we got him and Terry Venables got the deal over the line, he was going to be magnificent for Spurs. So that was another one that really excited me. I enjoyed the fact that we signed Gary Lineker as well, who did a really good job for us. But Jurgen Klinsmann is sort of like this footballing angel, isn't he? He just floats above everybody else. And of course, we had him twice, as you remember, and he was playing in not an average team, but we weren't the best team. There was Nicky Barmby, he was a good player. We had goals in us, and that's something that I think we're missing now. If Harry doesn't score or Steven Bergwijn doesn't have a purple 5 minutes, and Sonny, who's a little bit off his game at the minute and obviously is injured, where do the goals come from? We always seem to have more goals in us. Oh, I've just remembered one other memory. Freezing cold night, White Hart Lane, North London derby, Jika Popescu, 1-0, 3 points.
Yeah.
Get in. Yeah, lovely.
Yeah, that was a 94-95 season.
So cold that night.
Yeah, that was a 94-95 season, and that remains one of my favourite seasons because, of course, that partnership, Sheringham and Klinsmann, just incredible. Russ, I think that was at the time when you worked for Soccer AM, wasn't it?
Yep, started in '94. I was the first host of Soccer AM for 2 seasons, and then Sky moved me away from Soccer AM to host Football League live games. And when I started on Soccer AM, I had Jane Hoffen, lovely woman with me. She was moved on to something else by Sky. Suzanne Dando came in for a while. Trisha Doodoo. They couldn't quite get the female element with myself and Gary Stevens right. And then Helen Chamberlain turned up, and the rest is history. She's amazing and made a brilliant career on that show. And then when I left, Tim came in, Tim Lovejoy, and the show changed, and it's still going, which is amazing. An idea from Vic Wakeling, the late Vic Wakeling, head of Sky Sports. Saturday and Sundays, we're going to do something different, and I ended up doing both of them. But Soccer AM, for some reason, and I love it, is a lot of people remember me being on that. And it was so much fun, really, because Sky had just got the rights to the Premier League, and it was the infamous fag packet Alan Sugar meeting. This is how much we have to pay, blah blah blah. So to be part of Sky then was amazing, and obviously they're still going strong-ish.
Yeah, it's a program I used to watch a lot. So fantastic. Russ, let's get back to transfers. Dele Alli. Would you be surprised if Dele Alli is still a Spurs player tomorrow?
I would be, yes. I think he needs to go out and loan. Whether they'll sell him, I'm not sure. They might do if the right offer comes in. I don't know what's happened with Dele Alli, because he was playing so wonderfully well, wasn't he, for the first couple of seasons under Pochettino. He was probably England's most noticeable young player. He got into the national team. scored that wonder goal, didn't he, at Wembley? Not on his debut, but perhaps a couple of games later. Went to a major tournament with the international team, and then suddenly something happened. And I don't know what happened. Maybe his people didn't advise him well. I mean, the long and the short of it is, I don't think you set up your own clothing range before you've actually cemented yourself in a Premier League football team properly. And it's fallen away for him a little bit. And, you know, he's talented, but has the boat gone? I don't know.
Do you think it could be that, you know, when Pochettino left? Because when I think back to the Dele Alli, you know, White Hart Lane, that night against Chelsea, 2 headers.
Yes.
The day at Chelsea away, when we hadn't won there in 28 years, a couple of goals there. That fantastic goal against Crystal Palace at Selhurst Park. Champions League night. So many great Dele Alli moments.
Absolutely.
But over the last few years, Russ, what on earth has happened? It's like a switch has just been switched off.
Yes. He's like Samson has had his hair cut, you know, and has no energy. And it could be a confidence thing. He could be one of those players who is great in their younger years and they don't quite push on through, you know. I'd love to see him play well again. But to be fair to him, his best position, I think, is behind Harry Kane. And he's always been shoved out on the wing, hasn't he, really, a lot of the time, or deeper in midfield occasionally. So his position hasn't helped him either, I don't think. But it's a shame. You can only wish him well if he does go on loan. I mean, there's talk of Newcastle, wasn't there? Maybe 1 or 2 other places that he can kickstart his career and come back and do a job for Conte. Whatever he does, I wish him well.
There are rumours that Everton might be in for him to be Frank Lampard's first signing, so watch this space. A few comments in, Russ, saying that why didn't we go for Christian Eriksen? Of course, he's been confirmed today as a Brentford player, so many congratulations to him, and I really hope it works out because, you know, certainly after what happened in the summer. Are you surprised we didn't go in for Eriksen, particularly that he's on a free transfer?
It would have made sense, but, you know, they do say you never go back, and maybe the departure, which was protracted, wasn't it, of Christian Eriksen? I mean, it was nearly a season, you know. He wants to go, we're still going to play him, blah, 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 blah. And I don't think he diminished his return for the team much, although it's obviously a difficult time when your head is looking somewhere else. And then he went off to Inter Milan and couldn't get a game at first under Conte, ironically, and then came good. I think that something might have happened between the player and Daniel Levy that made it almost like, nah, I don't want to revisit that. Because why wouldn't you? You know, we desperately need a locksmith in midfield, somebody who can see that pass. He can certainly do that. Maybe medical concerns from the club, who knows? But if I was a betting man, I'd say that there was probably not harsh words, but there was a disagreement when he left, and maybe over how he left or how he felt he'd been treated in trying to leave. Who knows? You know, funny old business, football.
But for you personally, as a fan, would you have liked to see him back?
Yeah, till the end of the season, see what he could do. Yeah, he would.
We need someone on free. We need someone on free kicks, Russ. Why is Harry Kane still on the free kicks?
Oh, I don't know. Do you remember when Roy Hodgson put Harry Kane on corners for the World Cup?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think Kane, though, I don't know what you think. I think Kane's been playing better the last 2 or 3 games, looking really sharp. Yeah. And it can't have been easy for him, you know. I mean, we forget these 11 players are all geniuses. Each club is 11 geniuses on the pitch. It's just that the geniuses at some clubs are more genius-like than the other geniuses. They're that good, you know. We dream that we could go and play with these people. No chance. We'd be knackered after 30 seconds. And I think that the mental side of the game is a huge, huge aspect of it. And I think Harry Kane was probably mentally affected by the fact that he believed, if we are to believe what his people are saying, that he was told, they come in for you, you can go in the summer. And he didn't go in the summer, and clearly that was a problem for him. And, you know, I think it'd be a problem for all of us, wouldn't it, if we're honest? But he's coming through, and he's a pro.
Do you think he will now finish his career at Spurs?
Hope so. Being selfish, yeah, hope so.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I don't think, I could be wrong. Obviously, it's only my opinion. I don't think somebody's going to come in with £80 million bid for him anymore. He's 29.
Mm. Yeah.
I know players last longer, don't they? But it's unlikely.
I think talking about the Harry Kane situation, you know, me being a fan who goes, you know, home and away every single week, I just want to see the club going in the right direction, and I want to see the ambition. And when you bring a manager like Antonio Conte in, I feel that is showing real ambition. But then, of course, as I said to you, Russ, earlier, going back to the point about Pochettino putting the furniture in this mansion, I just feel that how can you go from Pochettino to Jose Mourinho, then to Antonio Conte, not be successful? You know, can you imagine Conte leaving, not being successful, not winning a trophy, and not doing anything at Spurs? Where on earth would we go then?
Well, it doesn't bear thinking about, really, but
No.
It is Tottenham, and it is possible. And this is, you know, for me, the culture of the owners towards a game of football and their thinking about it has to change. It is a business, and you cannot decry what Daniel Levy and ENIC have done in terms of delivering the stadium, training facilities, and their dinky little upside down, filling up from the bottom beers, and opening up the stadium and making it accessible to the NFL to generate income and having concerts there. That is business. But the business, the real business of Spurs is football. Stick to the football.
Russ, do you go to many games now?
Not as many as I'd like to. Probably 4 or 5 a season in the Premier League, 1 or 2 away games. But I used to, for years, had a season ticket in the West Stand, and I really used to love it. Obviously, it's been very difficult for me hosting live sport for the last few years on a Saturday afternoon and midweek. It wasn't worth me getting a season ticket because I could never go. But, you know, maybe I'll investigate getting one, especially if Conte stays.
Tell me how you felt the second you went in that brand new stadium.
Well, I can tell you because I was there with talkSport hosting the first live show there. With me was Ali McCoist. And before we went on the air, we both just sat there and were utterly gobsmacked at what we were seeing. And it was Crystal Palace, wasn't it? From memory.
Yeah.
2-0.
Yeah. Son.
That's
first
right.
Goal.
And for the fans, you know, pre-COVID to get in there, you know, before COVID had reared its ugly head, and the atmosphere and the wall, you know, that huge stand which is on the right-hand side from the press boxes, full of people, and you know, it was amazing. The light show, everything was like, wow, here we go. So we thought, but it's an albatross around the neck of the club, the stadium. Of course, they built it, they've delivered, and they will eternally get credit for that. But when debt becomes a problem that you can't concentrate on the business side of football, i.e. football, the squad, manager, players, transfers, loans, all that, wages, etc., you can't dream of being a big club unless you take the business of football, which is football, seriously. Look at Barcelona. I mean, we're linked with Ousmane Dembele. What's he? 24, tremendous player, injury prone. They want to get his wages off the books. Barcelona today, and let this be a lesson to Spurs, or in the last week, have taken out a new loan to pay off their existing loan. Crazy.
Yeah. So
we need to get some players, don't we, Chris, off the books today, and certainly by the summer. And we all know
we certainly do. But as we've said already, it's going to be a hard job, and I'm sure Fabio has been on the phone every single day during these 31 days so far. Let's hope it is a busy day. Russ, let's talk about the 2 signings that will be confirmed today. Dejan Kulusevski, Sweden international, loan deal around €5 million, including buy option clause. buy clause could become mandatory in case of Champions League football qualification, number of appearances. His agreed personal terms should be announced today. Fabio Crasci purchased him for 35 million euros plus 10 million add-ons from Atalanta. Conte wanted him at Inter Milan in 2020. What do you make of this signing?
Well, a pacey player, you know, not played enough for Juventus, in the area of the pitch in midfield where we need some people, as is, you know, I'm sure we're going to have a quick word about Bentancur as well, the Uruguayan.
Yeah.
Midfield area. I mentioned Skip earlier. I think he's really improved under Conte. And of course, the season at Norwich, although an unsuccessful one for them, they got relegated. His improvement was amazing. I don't think Harry Winks has improved. And I think that Højbjerg is just going to have to play right in front of the back three preferred, you know, set up for Conte, because he's just got to be a stopper. Pierre-Emerick Højbjerg, when he gets the ball, you can see him panic. We need someone calm in midfield who can calm it down, calm everybody around them when things are not going our way. And we need that creative spark. And, you know, whatever people think about Sweden as a football nation, you can't think of many Swedes who've come to this country who haven't done well. They suit our football.
Well, we always talk about mentality. A previous boss of Kulusevski said a player who covers the most distance, he's got the right mentality. He's described as physically strong, versatile, capable of playing in several midfield attacking roles, box-to-box, winger or offensive-minded midfielder. Main position is attacking behind the striker, and his qualities, speed, stamina, ability to switch the play. Does this signing excite you? Is it what Tottenham need? Is this going to make the difference of us finishing in the top four?
That second part, I don't know, but it probably gives us a better chance than we've got right now. If we end this transfer window, if everything went horribly wrong, exactly where we were on the day that it opened, playing staff-wise, I don't think we'll make the top four, not unless there's some extraordinary run of results for and against Spurs. But bringing in these couple of players from Juve, creating competition, players who obviously are going to fit in with Conte's ideals, his expectations, you know, which is endless running, effort, passion, three signature characteristics of the manager. He wants his team to play like that. I think we would stand a better chance. The defence worries me, though. The defence worries me.
Russ, Danny Rose has said on a number of occasions that the players at Tottenham sign you have to Google. Did you have to Google these players, or did you know them?
I was aware of Kulusevski, obviously because of his Swedish connections. Bentancur I'd heard of, but I can't pretend to know much about him. But having read up about him this morning on Tottenham blogs and sports articles on the internet, and spoken to a couple of friends of mine who are big Spurs fans, I think the reaction, if he comes, is pretty positive. Yeah. Would have liked Dybala. But anyway.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, Rodrigo,
that was so close, wasn't it? Dybala, wasn't it? If you remember, not last summer, but the summer before, wasn't it?
Well, it could happen in the summer. We'll talk about that in a second, because I'm expecting a very, very big summer. But Rodrigo Bentancur, it looks like a 19 million euro deal will go through, plus 6 million euro bonuses included. He's 24 years old, played for Boca Juniors between 2015 and 2017, played for Juventus from 2017, 133 appearances, 2 goals, Uruguay international, 46 caps. He is described as dynamic, hardworking, skillful, elegant, and tactically versatile midfielder, comfortable using either foot. Where do you think he will fit in this Tottenham Hotspur team? And, you know, both players, both new signings, do they walk into the starting 11?
Not straight away, because they've got to acclimatise, haven't they? I don't think if they come, I don't think we'll see him in the cup game at the weekend. If I was Harry Winks, I'd be worried. I think Bentancur could go in there, and I haven't got some sort of ridiculous, you know, vendetta against Harry Winks. I just don't think that after such a promising start, he's improved. That's not to say that he's going to kick on again, and maybe some competition will do him some good. But I would certainly see Bentancur in there, 100%. We need to be more competitive in midfield.
Yeah. Surely though, Russ, any new signings that come in January or indeed the summer, surely they've got to be starters. We cannot be signing any more players for the future, any more squad players, any more players to sit on the bench. Surely Conte needs players to be walking straight into this team, stamp authority, and try and get us that top 4 spot.
Yeah, I mean, look, these two, if they arrive, and others, may be straight in the team at the weekend. But you're right. I mean, what's the point of, in the summer, maybe selling 4 or 5 players, bringing in 4 or 5 and not, barring injury, starting them all in a World Cup year? I mean, they're all going to want to play well, because the chances are they're all going to be internationals or close to it. So, yeah, I mean, we can't tread water, and bringing in new players means that we're going to be swimming forward. And I'm very optimistic. But if he doesn't get supported,
yeah,
I think we all know the way it's going to end.
How would you feel come 11 o'clock this evening? Kulusevski and Bentancur in, Brian Hill out on loan, Ndombele out, Lo Celso, we haven't even mentioned him yet. If he went out on loan, Dele Alli went out on loan, how would you rate the window? I
would say, from what was shaping up to be disastrous 3 days ago, on the face of it, of course, we never know what's really going on. I would say that would be pretty good. The only thing we all get so frustrated with about Spurs is, why is everything last minute? Why can't we just make a statement signing 2 days into the window? Because, you know, for example, let's say we went in for Douglas Luiz at Villa today. Well, it's the last day of the window. It's going to be more expensive, you know. Or Basuma, Brighton say, well, Eve is 50 million, and Daniel Levy would choke on his coffee. And they'll say, well, do you want to do the deal or not? We are not in control. Do you know what I mean? If that happens.
I think Fabio is very used to doing last-minute deals as well, Russ. Yeah. And every single time when I've gone to, you know, certainly the away games, Fabio is always on his phone.
He is. Yeah, I noticed that. And of course, final day of the transfer window, one of the great signings for us, Rafa van der Vaart.
Yeah.
Rabbit out the hat. I mean, how good was he? So, you know, there is an element of we're playing Tottenham bingo now, or roulette, Levy roulette. Let's see what happens. I suspect there might be one more. Those two from Juventus, I think, will come in. I think there'll be another. And let's just hope it's a nice surprise, or one, rather than being a surprise, that we go, okay, get that, see what they're doing. That's good, you know.
Russ, I think you've got exactly the same attitude as me, trying to have that positivity that there's going to be this this magic ace out of Fabio's sleeve today of bringing in a world-class player, particularly when we've mentioned Jurgen Klinsmann. Now, when I think back, and obviously we spoke about Klinsmann and Sheringham, that fantastic partnership, that's, of course, when we had multiple strikers. Now, Harry Kane, the only out-and-out striker at the club. Can you believe that Fernando Llorente back in 2017 was the last time we signed a striker on a permanent deal? Of course, we had Carlos Vinicius on loan last season. Can you believe that we haven't signed another striker in all that time?
Not really, no. But hey, that's the way it's been, and now we've got to hope it's going to change. I mean, we've been linked with Alvaro Morata, haven't we? Obviously, was at Chelsea and then left there, didn't do so well. But that isn't to say that he wouldn't do well for us, you know. But sometimes players go to clubs and they just click. It would be nice to get another striker, but it's so hard in January because the prices are even more overinflated, and the top players don't really want to move in January anyway. So let's see if they are going to pull that rabbit out of the hat. Would be exciting anyway.
What do you think of
Jim White? Unbelievable news. Tottenham have just signed with 3 minutes to go. Anyway, sorry about the impression, but that would be lovely.
Well, I was expecting you to come in a suit with your yellow tie on, Russ.
No. Never, ever cross Jim White. Never. But he'd be even though it's on that, you know, Jim, you're on the radio. Oh, no, they're on YouTube now, aren't they? So you have that yellow tie on. Beautiful. Well,
Russ, let's talk a little bit about Giovanni Lo Celso and Steven Bergwijn. Would you expect both of them to go out the door? Because we're hearing reports that if Ajax come back with an improved offer of 25 million euros, Steven Bergwijn can go out the door. Lo Celso hasn't quite worked out for him, has it?
No. If they sell Bergwijn, I personally wouldn't, because I think he's got a lot to offer, and he's different to a lot of the other players that we've got, and we know what he can do. But if they said, "Oh, Ajax have offered 25 million, we're taking it," but there's a reason we're putting that 25 million plus another 25 million towards super duper player, then you could kind of understand that. So I've just got a feeling Bergwijn will still be at the club. Giovanni Lo Celso, I mean, he's incredible, isn't he? He plays for Argentina, but he doesn't really do much for us. And I don't know whether it's the speed of the game doesn't suit him, whether it's once again a confidence thing. But he's another one. You want them to win, don't you? These signings, you want them to win. You want them to be part of the team and the fabric of everything that Tottenham want to be. Maybe he's not going to be that, and I think he will go out on loan. He's another player who, of course, cost a pretty sum of money. So, but the recruitment has been dreadful over the last 3 or 4 years, largely.
Well, I'm going to say Spurs are quite often criticised for not spending money, but when you think Giovanni Lo Celso and Tanguy Ndombele, over £100 million between them, and an incredible stat that I read the other day, between the two of them combined, they have only completed 90 minutes for Spurs on 16 occasions.
Well, not good enough, is it? Not good enough. And yeah, you have to say that occasionally Mr. Levy's wallet has come out. I mean, he you know, he's not blameless in the state of the squad and its regression, but he has occasionally made us think, oh, hello, he is going to spend some money finally, you know, consistently. But, you know, I don't know. Is he an accountant, a former accountant, Daniel Levy? I think he may be, but he certainly thinks about the numbers. And, you know, he's a custodian of the club, I suppose, and he wants to make sure that Spurs is still going to be there. Well, sometimes you have to twist rather than stick. And with Conte, I honestly think we've got to twist now. Give him
Going back to Steven Bergwijn, of course, he had that mad moment at Leicester. You know, those 2 goals coming off the bench. Do you see that he could play in a striker position if perhaps Harry Kane missed a few games? Are you confident for him?
Well, yeah, I think he could do. He's not a recognised out-and-out striker. But what I like about him is he's tricky, he's good, a good touch on the ball. And that second goal at Leicester, as we all know, was absolutely magnificent.
Yeah.
World-class finish. So he's got something, once again, in his boots. And for a club that wants to play good, attacking, winning football, if Steven Bergwijn isn't good enough to get into the starting 11, what a great substitute to bring on. I mean, all of us would have looked at the bench when we played Chelsea. I mean, ours was like bargain basement, and there's all their players are like from Harrods.
Yeah,
it's the difference. It's the difference.
Russ, a couple of short questions for you. How many signings do you see Tottenham Hotspur confirming in and out today?
3 in, 3 out.
Okay. And a simple yes or no, will Conte be successful and lift a trophy during his management spell at Spurs?
Yes. But not this season.
You might have to think about that one.
I think he will, yeah.
Let's hope so.
I based that answer on the fact that the club are going to back him.
Yeah. Russ, lastly, before you go, tell everyone about, you've just had a book published within the last year or so. Tell us about that.
Yeah, thank you for allowing me to plug. Basically, I've always been a bit of a walker. I've got a staffy, and you have to keep them fit. And I do about 4 miles plus a day with her. And I've done it for years, 10 or 12 years. And I noticed that stuff, really boring stuff like blood pressure and cholesterol levels and all that kind of stuff were really good because I did this regular walking. So I thought I'd go and find out something about it. And it turns out that walking is so good for so much of your physical body and absolutely for your mental health. And I wrote a book about it called How to Walk Yourself Healthy and Happy. It is on Amazon. I've done the Audible audio book, as you would imagine. I've narrated it, and I've just turned it into a video course as well, because some people don't like reading books or they don't like listening to audio. They like to watch stuff. and you can take a look at it at walkyourselfhealthyandhappy.com. So I'm very passionate. I'm nearly as passionate as I am about Spurs, about walking as a simple form of exercise to help people lose weight and be fitter and healthier. That's all.
And Russ, tell everyone where they can find you on social media and your radio show at the moment.
You can find me on Twitter at RussW777. I'm not on Facebook. I'm not on Instagram. For some reason, I'm just about to go on LinkedIn. So if you're on LinkedIn, keep an eye out for me and maybe give me a follow and I'll reciprocate. And what was the second part of the question? Sorry, Chris.
Your latest radio shows.
Yep, every day, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., including right now, by the wonders of modern technology, I do a music show on Nation Radio UK, which is online, DAB, self-explanatory. We play brilliant music. And today's show, So I Can Speak to You, Chris, has been pre-recorded as live. So I'm on there Monday to Friday as well. And of course, I do the boxing at talkSport with Spencer Oliver. Fight of My Life. We're just putting together Series 4, which is a fantastic show to do where we sit down with the boxer and they take us through the pivotal fight, good, bad, or indifferent in their career and talk about boxing in general. So it's great.
Russ, I don't know whether you've been reading the comments, but there's been so much love for you in
I haven't.
in the comment
I'm
section.
sorry.
That's all right. It's no, you know, every viewer has really enjoyed listening to your thoughts about Tottenham Hotspur. So this hour has absolutely flown by. I've absolutely loved talking to you.
Well, Chris, an absolute honour, and I was very aware before you asked me of your channel. It does unbelievably well. I couldn't believe you had 60-odd thousand subscribers. Well, now I know why, because it's a great thing, and all I've done is give my opinion. Some people will disagree, some people will agree, and we've all got to have an opinion. Doesn't mean that we're right all the time, but I've shared some of my thoughts, and thank you for everyone's reaction, good, bad, or indifferent. It's been a great pleasure being on with you. Russ,
I'd love to have you back on at some point, and as you just said there, you know, opinions may differ, but we all want the same thing. We all want success at our football club. Russ, thanks so much for your time today, and thanks to all of the viewers for the comments and subscribing to the channel and all of the support of the channel. I'll see you later on for a Tottenham news video, and of course I've got more interviews coming later on this afternoon. Until then, come on you Spurs. Thanks, Russ.
Happy deadline day.